as I might. I cannot be, nor will not be, the sworn enemy of lying pomposity, smugness, and groupthink that Tucker Carlson is. But I will think clearly, reason soundly, and judge accurately concerning issues relating to politics and religion. Chautauqua Institution, Salman Rushdie being attacked. Do you know what's missing in this discussion? The I word. Don't dare say the I word. Pretend the I word is not there. Brush it off if anybody hints at it. Whatever you do, be silent about the I word. You know what I word I'm talking about. The I word of Islam. Notice the reporting. It's just some guy who went out of his mind and attacked Rushdie on stage. Some guy who was dressed in black, looked very strange, and tried to assassinate Rushdie there at the stage of Chautauqua. Don't bring the I word in. Call it mental illness instead. Rushdie, he wrote the satanic verses. Rushdie has a $3 million fatwa on his life. Rushdie, from what I understand personally, he doesn't really want a whole lot of security around. But when you have a $3 million fatwa on you, somebody's going to try to take advantage. And sure enough, it happened there with that Presbyterian. No, it wasn't a Presbyterian who did that. Was it a Methodist? No, it wasn't a Methodist. It must have been a Baptist. No, it wasn't a Baptist. No, it was that word basically that begins with an I. It was Islam. And who can really say that the individual who did that matter was out of character? Because in the Quran, you'll see those verses. Just go to the chapter of jihad, or should I say the surah of jihad, number 9. And there you read that Muslims are to deliver a deadly blow to those who are considered apostate or those who are in the house of war, because Islam is the house of peace. And we're in the house of war. And therefore, we're basically a battlefield. And when you read Surah 47:4, or you read verses out of Surah 8, you'll see those verses condoning jihad. That's where they get their inspiration. And isn't it interesting that he did go to visit Lebanon, and who is there in Lebanon? Hezbollah. Where is Hezbollah located or linked up to? Iran, Shiite Muslims. Yeah, what he did I thought was pretty consistent with what Islam has to say, but nobody wants to bring up the I word. Let's talk about the I word. Talk about it as Robert Spencer does on Jihad Watch. That's where you'll get the lowdown of really what's going on. Let's talk about it. Oh, another thing at Chautauqua. I didn't even think about this, but I look at these major cities in our country, and they want to reimagine the police. They want to make police into social workers. That basically you send a social worker to a situation where it's really tense, and somehow this social worker will magically diffuse the hot and volatile situation. As you hear about the security at Chautauqua, those who could have implemented were dismissed. And Chautauqua takes a very soft approach to security. Had they done the security as it was supposed to be done, as advised by law enforcement, I doubt if you would have seen that scene happen at Chautauqua. But what you notice at Chautauqua Institution is basically what they're trying in these major cities where crime is going through the roof, where violence is escalating. What you see at Chautauqua are liberal policies in the big city manifest in that very little community. Isn't it interesting? Chautauqua is a gated community, but they're very loose when it comes to security. And that's the way they've wanted it. They kind of reap what they sowed. But isn't Chautauqua an example of our border? How loose our border is in the South? And what we're seeing with the disorder and chaos that's there? And as you watch New York City or Washington, D.C., they're basically saying, not my city! I want the government, I want the National Guard to intervene now. And here New York City is considered a sanctuary city. And if you advertise as a sanctuary city, then live up to it. Let those illegals flood into your city. I hope the liberals are recognizing just how vacuous and wrong-headed their policies are, as we see those policies, in a sense, play out at Chautauqua Institution, which has a hard time saying that I word, Islam, especially when violence occurs. Well, one more thing. Somebody said this. Dennis Prager. When you hear of how many times Christianity has been insulted in the United States, if Christians were given the green light to kill anybody who insulted the faith, we would have genocide in this country. But Christians are commanded to love their enemies. In other words, we treat them like a neighbor. And when we witness something like we saw here recently, don't equate terror with Christianity, because it's so inconsistent to do it in that name, while it's consistent to do so in Islam. It just needs to be stated. Let's be upfront with it. I know it's politically incorrect to do so, but I think I'm accurate in my assessment at what took place at Chautauqua Institution. Well, unlike Tony Kornheiser of Pardon the Interruption, I cannot promise you that I'll do better the next time.